Part two, basically what I said in the last one, that dragon, the word we had, really means just dinosaur, it should be. The Vikings had dragons on the head of the ships, even with King Harold's fair hair ship called the Dragon. Okay, so what did the Norse think they looked like? And you kind of come to an interesting conclusion. This was found on the Osberg ship. Okay, and look at the head. Look at the way it's shaped and everything. Now we get the dinosaur. And it's just kind of interesting because we don't think of that as a dragon. And so, artifact was found with the Osberg ship, 820 AD. And I'd say they look quite similar. And the Aesir, Odin, Sigurd, and the other ancestors slayed the dragons for fame, basically. And they believed they didn't do something great, you were never to be remembered. And this picture comes from Saga of the Volsungs by Dr. Jackson Crawford. And he has a family tree which goes from Odin to Volsung to Sigmund to Sigurd, where the myth comes from. Sigurd would be the great-great-grandchild of Odin, and that's where the myth takes place between Sigurd and Fafnir. Let's say that's correct, that Odin was around 0 to 200, or somewhere around in there. And Sigurd, being the great-great-grandchild of Odin, and him one slaying Fafnir, it would be older than 200. That would mean that we had dinosaurs around like 1700 years ago, somewhere around in there. So, a little background. Vikings and their sagas and stuff like that, it had to be somewhat worse than Christianity, if that makes sense. The traits of the commandments did kind of trickle down into the Norse with their laws and everything else with the things. But Bible and Norse are both missing certain details for a kind of full picture, it seems like. Thou shalt not bear false witness is one of the commandments. The Vikings had a court system called a thing, which what I mentioned a second ago. This would be a meeting of the community or village, and if you were to lie, you would have punishment by the king or the person in power, and by the community itself. This punishment can range from being burned at the stake, ostracized from society, and you'd have to live on your own in the wilderness, can't trade or buy anything. Or the blood eagle, where they rip your back out in order for the skin to be spread like wings and stuff like that. But you had real-world consequences among the afterlife consequences. So, and Christianity only has the afterlife, and it kind of, yeah. But, in short, the Viking had consequences as well as afterlife. And so, you got to think, why would they lie when they have these kind of consequences and be making sagas and everything? You might be saying, what about Leviathan and Behemoth in the Bible? That was around the origins. Okay, in Job, behold now Behemoth which I made with thee, eateth grass as an ox. Lo, his strength is like his loins, his force is in the navel of his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar, his sinews of stones are wrapped together. His bones are as strong as a piece of brass, his bones are like bones of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God, and make him that can make a sword approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts are the field of play. He lieth under the shady trees in the covert of the reed and the fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow, and the willow of the brook compass him about. Behold, he drinketh up a river, and he hasteth not, he trusteth that he can draw up the Jordan into his mouth. He taketh it within his eyes, and his nose pierceth through snares. Okay, so by that you can gather it, it's some kind of big animal creature and dinosaur. Wouldn't you say that kind of what it looks like? So, Norse myth and the Bible both have connections to dinosaurs within them, and yet the Bible is supposed to be in 5,000 years as the world origin. So, let's take Job's timeline. Time for the Bible, it is thought that Job lived to be somewhere near the 16th to 17th century BC. And 1600 BC, at least 300 years later that he lived, and at least 300 years to have Job as a great-grandchild. And so by Norse myth and the Bible, we gather that Esau had long life, immortality, hence the changing names and the wandering. The book of Job was written by Moses, and therefore Job must have lived earlier than 16th century BC. Okay, so in Job 1:8, God praised Job as the only upright man on earth in his time. Noah, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph were considered by God to be upright, and they lived occupying full time range between 17th and the 30th century BC. Job must have lived after the great flood of Noah and after Joseph died, but before the birth of Moses. Therefore, we come to the above conclusion. So we do have a dinosaur in the Bible, but I tried to look up radiocarbon dating accuracy, and short carbon dating life is only accurate for items that are thousands to tens of thousands of years old. Most rocks of interest are much older than this. This site right here is a problem with radiometric dating that carbon-14 is found in materials dated to millions of years old. Okay, and there's this little part, only 5,730 years. Half of it decays away. So the theoretical limit for carbon-14 dating is 100,000 years. If dinosaur bones are 65 million years old, there should not be one atom left in them. From this site, basically they're saying that all the dates they make is made up, essentially, is what I'm gathering. Making Norse myth, the Bible, and ancient texts more true than science, but what are your thoughts? You know anything about carbon dating or any kind of thing like that? Comment.